Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good evening and welcome to Spring Global on Western Spring Television. Now, the headlines. INEC says there are 93.4 million registered voters in Nigeria ahead of February polls. Uganda declares end to Ebola outbreak that killed more than 50 people. All United States domestic flights grounded for several hours over glitch. My name is Evelyn Ohiole. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says there are 93.4 million registered voters in Nigeria. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu announced this today at a meeting with political parties at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. At the meeting, Professor Yakubu presented the voters registered to the political parties in accordance with the Electoral Act. According to him, Lagos leads with 7 million voters, followed by Kano with 5.9 million voters, and Kaduna with 4.3 million voters. Youths aged 18 to 34 make up the majority by age, with a figure of 37 million representing 39.66% of the voters. Nigerians have continued to face challenges as the country's fuel scarcity shows no signs of abating. In this report, Olayinka Ale reveals how long queues still have characterized the daily lives of many residents of Osun State, with others willing to pay high prices for petrol.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, has blamed the fuel queues in the country on some ongoing construction projects which has caused diversion of vehicles. This is as the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, said the distribution crisis caused by vandalism of depot belonging to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited should be blamed for petrol scarcity in parts of the country. However, the scarcity of fuel is still on the high here in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, as motorists keep hustling for fuel. While some fuel stations like Mobil, NNPC, and few other private stations are locked up, 2 of NIPCO fuel stations in the Lameko and Ogolua axis were operating and selling fuel at the rate of 189 naira 50 kobo per litre, while private stations sold at the rate of 265 naira per litre. Olaide Adigun, a motorist on the long queue, stated that he chose to be on the queue because of the 189 naira 50 kobo per litre price, because he cannot afford to fuel his car at a high rate.
And I'm here purposely because of the price. So they are selling it at 189.5. That's why I'm here. So I know some others have, but you cannot afford to buy from other station with high price.
Samson Bamigbola, who has been on the queue for 2 hours, is so optimistic of getting fuel. Samson, however, said he is disappointed that the fuel attendant will give priority to people buying the keg as against him that came with a bike.
I've been here about 2 hours ago with the hope that I will get fuel. It's not been easy since I came here, and the queue is gradually moving. Though the fuel attendants, they are not doing well. The reason I say they are not doing well is that they are selling kegs. Mostly they based on keg, only few bikes and a few motor. That's what they are selling. That is the reason mean the queue is not that moving.
Pastor Shuyi Tawushe, who also has been on the queue since 7 a.m. in the morning, expressed his disappointment in the government, who he believes do not have the interest of citizens at heart.
Have you heard anything from government since the fuel scarcity begins? Over 2 months now. So I don't think we have government in this nation, for God's sake. Even the one we are queuing for is almost 200 naira. It's not a cheaper price money, but because he's the only one selling at a reduced cost, others are selling at 260, 270. That's why you see us queuing since morning. And now look at the process. Forget about government, my sister.
Olayinka Oyerunke stated that it has not been an easy experience, asking the government to come out and address the nation on this recurring issue of fuel scarcity.
It's a very straight question and very straight answer. It has not been an easy experience since last year that we've been on this fuel issue. I don't think the government has been fair at all. They have not been fair. They should just come out straight. If they really want to increase the fuel price, they should tell us and let us know where exactly we are going. This has not been an easy experience at all.
For Said Kushimo, buying at a high price was the best he could do because he cannot afford to join the long queue who sells at a lower rate.
If you want to buy, the one I bought now is just 260 per liter. 260 per liter, so I just get 200 naira on. Okay. Where I can't queue on another station that is selling normal prices like 180. So, and I'm in a rush going to somewhere, so I don't have a choice more than to buy this at 260.
Anuoluwapo Adebola, who also bought fuel at the rate of 265 naira per litre, expressed her grievances by advising the government to find a lasting solution to the issue of fuel scarcity.
It's not okay at all since this scarcity has started, and I think the government should find a lasting solution to it, because some people will not be able to afford 260 right now, and I don't see myself queuing for a longer time. That's why I came here to buy 260, but everything is not working now, and the government should find a lasting solution to this. If they want to increase it, let us know, and if they want to remove the subsidy, they should do, rather than suffering the masses, putting us into torture. Is unfair.
It would be recalled that on the 27th of November 2022, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has attributed the current fuel scarcity to the unavailability of petroleum products and difficulty in accessing foreign exchange by marketers. Olayinka Ali, Western Spring Television News.
Uganda has declared an end to an Ebola outbreak that killed more than 50 people in the country. The announcement follows a 42-day period without any new confirmed cases. Health Minister Jane Ruth Aseng made the announcement at a ceremony on Wednesday in Mubende. The outbreak, which began last September, caused particular concern as it was caused by the Sudan strain of Ebola, for which there is no vaccine. Cases were initially concentrated in the central region districts of Mubende and Kasanda, where the outbreak began. But the epidemic seemed to be getting out of control when positive cases were recorded in at least 7 other districts, including the capital, Kampala. Uganda's outbreak was caused by the Sudan Ebola virus, one of 6 species of the Ebola virus, and for which there is currently no confirmed vaccine. WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, said it was one of the most challenging Ebola outbreaks in the past 5 years.
Soon after Uganda declared the Sudan Ebola virus outbreak, we worked with vaccine developers, donors, and the Ugandan health authorities to identify candidate therapeutics and vaccines for inclusion in trials. 3 candidate vaccines were identified, and the first doses arrived in the country on the 8th of December 2022, constituting an historic milestone in the global capacity to respond to outbreaks and prevent them from becoming pandemics. Our team helped design the trial protocols and trained 200 members of locally led research teams on conducting the trial according to strict international standards.
In the United Kingdom, ambulance staff embarked on a strike action in many parts of England and all of Wales today in a dispute over pay and staffing. The strikes, according to the union Unison, will involve all ambulance employees as opposed to just 999 response crews who took action in December. Unison said many of the service's employees are likely to be exempted from the strike action under emergency cover plans. The coordinated walkout involves 2 main ambulance unions, Unison and GMB and will affect non-life-threatening calls. Ambulance workers are also planning to strike on the 23rd of January. Meanwhile, UK Health Secretary Steve Barclay says the most important category 1 calls have been covered despite the ambulance staff action.
Obviously, it is concerning in terms of our ability to that care, but we've been working with the unions constructively on what cover they will put in place. I'm very pleased that we have cover from the unions.
Are they risking lives by going on strike?
Well, it's clearly a concern in terms of the impact that it has on patient safety, but we're working constructively with the unions in terms of particularly for life-threatening calls. So we're saying to people to be mindful of that, but if they do have a life-threatening condition, the most urgent category 1 calls are covered today.
Peru's top prosecutor has launched an inquiry into President Dina Boluarte and key ministers over weeks of clashes that have left dozens of people dead. The officials are being investigated on charges of genocide, qualified homicide, and serious injuries. Violence erupted after ex-President Pedro Castillo was arrested in December for trying to dissolve Congress. On Monday, 70 people died in clashes between Castillo supporters and security forces in southeastern Peru. Dozens more were injured in the city of Julieta in what was the worst day of violence so far. Many of the victims had gunshot wounds. The authorities accused the protesters of trying to overrun Juliaca's airport and a local police station. An overnight curfew is now in place in the region. In the meantime, Brazil's judicial authorities have ordered the arrest of top public officials after rioters stormed key government buildings in Brasilia. One official, the former commander of the military police, has been arrested. The Attorney General's office said the officials also include Brazilia's former public security chief, Anderson Torres, and others responsible for acts and omissions leading to the riots. Mr. Torres denies any role in the riots. Colonel Fabio Augusto, the police commander, was dismissed from his role after supporters of ex-President Jair Bolsonaro stormed Congress, the presidential palace, and the Supreme Court. The rioting came a week after President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, widely known as Lula, was sworn in. Cardinal George Pell, whose conviction on child abuse charges shocked the Catholic Church before being quashed, has died at 81. The former Vatican treasurer is Australia's highest-ranking Catholic cleric and the most senior church figure ever jailed for such offences. Church officials say he died of heart complications after hip surgery. Cardinal Pell served as Archbishop of both Melbourne and Sydney before becoming one of the Pope's top 8. He was summoned to Rome in 2014 to clean up the Vatican's finances and was often described as the church's third-ranked official, but the cleric left his post in 2017, returning to Australia to face trial on child sex abuse charges. In the United States, President Joe Biden has said he was surprised to learn in November that classified files had been found at his former private office. The papers discovered at the Penn Biden Center in Washington reportedly contained briefings on foreign countries. A Republican congressional committee says it will investigate, while the U.S. Justice Department is also reviewing the matter. In Mexico City, where he was attending a summit, Mr. Biden told reporters that he was cooperating fully with the review. His lawyer said the documents relate to his time as vice president, but their level of classification or why they were there is unclear.
When my lawyers were clearing out my office at the University of Pennsylvania, they set up an office for me, a secure office in the Capitol. When the 4 years after being vice president, I was a professor at Penn. They found some documents in a box in a locked cabinet, or at least a closet. And as soon as they did, they realized there were several classified documents in that box. And they did what they should have done. They immediately called the archives, turned them over to the archives, and I was briefed about this discovery and surprised to learn that there were any government records that were taken there to that office.
You're watching Spring Global on Western Spring Television. We will be right back after this break.
never ask questions. Either knows everything and nothing. Watch me as I ask the questions you think no one wants to answer. Even questions it appears no one has got the guts to ask. My name is Femi Adefula and I've got the gut. Let's ask the pertinent questions and watch as we get answers.
Welcome back. We move over to Paris, where 6 people have been injured, with 1 in critical condition after a stabbing at Paris's International Gare du Nord station earlier today. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said a man was stopped by 2 off-duty police officers who were returning home from a shift. He said the suspected attacker was shot 3 times and taken to hospital with serious injuries. Authorities are trying to establish if there was a motive for the attack. Mr. Darmanin thanked the police for their brave and effective intervention, which he said saved many lives. Prince Harry has said claims that he was boasting when he wrote in his book about killing 25 Taliban fighters in Afghanistan are a dangerous lie. The prince has been criticized for discussing killings in Spare, with some military figures saying it was wrong to refer to the dead as chess pieces. But on US television, Harry accused the press of taking his words out of context and said the spin endangered his family. He also defended his remarks, saying he had wanted to reduce veteran suicide. Spare, which was published yesterday, has become the fastest-selling non-fiction book ever in the UK.
There's some veterans in the house tonight. I think one of the most, look, I'm not going to lie, the last few days have been hurtful and challenging, not being able to do anything about those leaks that you referred to. But perhaps without doubt, the most dangerous lie that they have told is that I somehow boasted about the number of people that I killed in Afghanistan.
Now talking business, barely 20 days before some Naira notes in Nigeria will be phased out to pave way for the use of only the redesigned ones, some Nigerians still do not have access to the new notes. While the new Naira notes have become more available at this time, the level of circulation is still apparently low. Emmanuel Ujoadegele has the rest of the story.
Nearly a month after it officially began circulating, President of Osogbo, the Osun State capital, like Agbola Omar Dayeshi, now have access to the new Naira notes via automated teller machines ATMs.
First thing I can notice is that the currencies are already been changed to a new currency, and I love it. It's a very good thing. So thank for the federal government for everything.
The cash withdrawal limit, so you're able to take more than 20,000?
Yes, as from today, at least I withdraw like 50,000 from the ATM. So
and they were all new.
Everything were all new. There were new notes.
This development comes a little over a day after the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, upon complaints by Nigerians, directed banks to load their ATMs with the new note to enable customers to have access to them even when banking halls are closed. Now, it is not just via the ATMs that the new Naira note can be gotten. Bank customers such as Ajibade Oduyele have also been able to get the note while making over-the-counter transactions, although the CBN has asked banks to stop this.
When I came to the bank last time, I withdrew from the bank counter. Among the currencies they gave me, new currencies are among.
Mr. Oduyele's experience is similar to that of Mrs. Olayemi Adetunji, with the difference being that she was greeted with reluctance to accept the note by traders.
I was able to be paid with the new currency note, 1,000 Naira, and I was glad because it's a very beautiful note, and I was able to spend it actually, and everybody that I gave to, they were excited, and maybe, but some people are saying that the new note is maybe, being printing on their fingers. They are afraid that maybe they will not be able to spend it. But I was glad to collect it, and I was able to spend it.
Despite this cheery development, some bank officials who spoke off record told Western Spring Television that the new Naira note, especially the 200 Naira note, were still not in full circulation as they did not have it. This appears to be true as some bank customers, including Zainab Adewoye, still could not see or get the new note both over the counter or via ATMs 20 days before the old ones will be phased out.
I went to withdraw money over the counter. They gave me old notes.
Following the directive of the Central Bank of Nigeria, it appears as though banks in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, have begun to comply. A visit to automated teller machines, ATMs, show that the new Naira notes have been dispensed and customers can also access these new Naira notes over the counter. However, the issue of the scarcity of the 200 Naira new note must be addressed, as well as the apathy of some persons, including traders, towards the new notes. Emmanuel Ujadugile, Western Spring Television News.
All United States domestic flights have been grounded for several hours because of a glitch with the flight control system. The Federal Aviation Administration says there is a problem with the system that alerts pilots to potential hazards and flight routes. It expects flights will be able to take off later. Flights from New Jersey's Newark Airport and Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport have already resumed. The FAA said this was due to air traffic congestion in those areas. It was not immediately clear if the outage would impact on international flights. U.S. President Joe Biden has been briefed, and the White House said there was no evidence of a cyber attack at this point. Moving to sports, Atletico Madrid forward Joao Felix has joined Chelsea on loan for the rest of the season. The 23-year-old will bolster the attacking options for manager Graham Potter, whose squad is currently hard hit by injuries and languishing in 10th spot in the table. Chelsea described the Portugal international as a skillful and stylish attacker who was best in a fluid forward role. Atletico said Felix had extended his contract with the Spanish club for one more season until June 2027. In England, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola says he has a ridiculous idea about how to beat Manchester United in Saturday's derby encounter at Old Trafford. City go into the game in second place in the Premier League, 4 points clear of their old rivals in fourth. Guardiola has won 9 out of 17 meetings with United since replacing Manuel Pellegrini in 2016, losing 6. The City boss operated with 2 midfielders as false 9 during a dominant Carabao Cup win at United 3 years ago, which Kevin De Bruyne claimed to have taken the players only 15 minutes to perfect in training.
I would like to arrive against United more or less with the average of minutes and the likes of the players quite similar, because I have a few ideas, thoughts, ridiculous ones went to United, but still I didn't watch the last games. I have to see the way we play at home and the way he changed something. I have to still review. That's why I don't have clear the lineup against United.
To tennis, Novak Djokovic suffered an injury scare ahead of the Australian Open with a hamstring twin, forcing him to coach out a practice match with Daniil Medvedev. The 21 Grand Slam champion, who missed last year's Australian Open after being deported due to his vaccination status, played just one set against Medvedev before withdrawing. Djokovic lasted a little under 40 minutes in Rod Laver Arena today in what marked his first appearance in Melbourne since being forced to leave the country last year. Djokovic said he did not want to risk anything, adding that it had been the same hamstring that had troubled him last week on his way to the title at the Adelaide International. Before we end Spring Global, here is a recap of our top stories. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says there are 93.4 million unregistered voters in Nigeria. Uganda has declared an end to Ebola outbreak that killed more than 50 people in the country. All United States domestic flights have been grounded for several hours because of a glitch with the flight control system. Remember, you can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am Evelyn Ohiola. Many thanks for your time.
affected, sound,